Welcome to Your Week with St. Luke's, our Thanksgiving edition. We know that a lot of you are already probably on Thanksgiving break or you're traveling, and we just wanted to come to you as your pastors, talk a little bit about our scripture for this week as we are going to be celebrating a Thanksgiving Sunday, but then also just talk about Thanksgiving in your lives. So this is going to come out on the 20th of November. So where will you be, Melissa?
I actually on the 20th I will be on a plane between New York and Paris because Paris for Thanksgiving. Why not?
There you go.
It's the benefits of being two only children where we can adjust family gatherings. We'll have already done Thanksgiving with my family, so we're able to do something a little different for the week.
Nice. Jad,
Yeah.
what are you going to be up to Thanksgiving week?
I was gonna say on Monday the 20th, I'm getting an oil change, but yeah, we go down to celebrate Thanksgiving with my sister's family, Emily. She's my older sister. She's a United Methodist pastor also, and probably one of my best friends, which is wild. But yeah, so we'll be down in Jupiter with all of them. What about you, Jen?
So I on Monday will have my three kids from DC will be here. So Sam, Carter, and Ollie are all coming down. They'll be here actually Sunday, the 19th, for the big Sunday celebration. And then my mom will be here for a couple days. And then my mom will go with my sister, and we're going to have our Thanksgiving morning. Since we won't all be together on Christmas, because I have married children now. So they do the in-laws, and which is great. And we love the Shins, but we're gonna have Christmas morning on Thanksgiving morning. So we're gonna do just a little bit of Christmas.
Yep.
While watching the Thanksgiving parade, and we'll have on our Christmas jammies together.
Cool. That's fun.
That's
great.
That's get used to it. It's not that bad. Will and I lived in the same state as as both of our parents in 15 years. And so you kind of got to take it where you can get it and not that's something that was always part of our family, is like the day of something isn't the important thing. The celebration is the important thing.
Right.
So, so embracing that, I think
gathering together.
Right. So we're going to have a Thanksgiving Eve moment, like we normally have a Christmas Eve moment by the Christmas tree. We're going to put up one Christmas tree and have a Thanksgiving Eve moment. It's just really funny. It's going to be funny.
That's great.
Yeah. So we're talking about we have this in between Sunday, so normally everybody leaves for Thanksgiving and we come back and it's Advent, but we have this in between Sunday, which is actually the end of the Christian year.
Right.
Talk about that.
It's New Year's Eve.
What Sunday is that?
It's New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah, right.
It's the last one.
Yeah. So the last Sunday of the Christian year is often known as Christ the King Sunday, which lets us center ourselves on the lordship of Christ in our lives, which is such a great way to like end a year and think about the next one, because it lets us sort of set aside. It invites us to say, the phrase Christ the King sounds so like lofty and haughty in some ways, if you just take it on the surface, but it's really about recognizing, setting aside our own agendas, not necessarily our passions or our gifts or who we are, not our identities, but setting aside our agendas and sort of getting a chance to refocus ourselves on, are we really living the Christ-centered love life? And so it actually is a perfect transition into a new year for us as people of faith.
Yep. We have a high Christology as Wesleyans, Christ the King. It's just, and I think it's a great way to, and we joked about New Year's Eve, like that big celebration, but it's a great way to be reminded of who we are and whose we are. And on this Sunday for us at St. Luke's, to celebrate the greatness of what God has done in this last year, and to gather. We're talking about harvesting and celebrating, and that gathering together, and well, like all of us are doing with our families in some way, shape, or form, in unique ways. We're gathering together and celebrating being community. You can do Christmas Eve on Thanksgiving. You're gathering together and celebrating.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really cool. So we're using the scripture from 2 Corinthians 8, 1 through 15. It's from Paul's second letter to the church in Corinth. And he's talking about an offering, and he's comparing the offering that he is expecting the church of Corinth to give to the offering that the Macedonians give, and that they gave out of their poverty. They gave with just abundant hearts, with cheerful hearts, with a sense of, we don't have a lot, but we're going to give what we can. And it was received in beautiful ways. It says, in fact, how does it, while they were being tested by many problems, their extra amount of happiness. So just their extra amount of happiness, right? Their extra thankfulness and their extreme poverty. So put those two things together, resulted in a surplus of rich generosity. I assured that they gave what they could afford, and even more than they could afford, and they did it voluntarily. They urgently begged us for the privilege of sharing in for the servants of the saints. They even exceeded our expectations because they gave themselves to the Lord first and to us, consistent with God's will. It was a sense of, we know we're struggling, but we just have to be a part of God's work, and we want to do that. And I think there's something beautiful about on Thanksgiving Sunday and this last Sunday of the year to be able to say, yeah, look at what God's done. And yeah, it feels like we're lacking in many different things, but if we give of ourselves, there's, because of what God's done, we become a part of something bigger.
Yeah. And when you start there, when that's the starting point, then the riches that come after that aren't the same kind of riches that we give to begin with, right? You know, I'm thinking about, we've done this 23 days of Thanksgiving, right? And so I'm going to do my one big Thanksgiving offering before we leave, before we take off. So on the 19th, I'll do sort of my Thanksgiving offering before that, because it would be really easy to go, you know what, we're going on a trip, and we'll see what's left over after that. But if I can know that before I've ever, you know, taken that step and gone to do something that is both life-giving and a little frivolous, and we should all do all of those things, right? But to start and ground myself first in being able to know that I'm being generous in the way that God is inviting me to, and making sure that I'm giving out of my abundance. It changes
first.
It changes how I'm going to enjoy the trip. It's going to change how my Advent season goes, because I've done something that signifies that commitment to the Lordship of Christ in my life.
Right. And like you said, beginning with generosity.
Yes.
When we live in a time that is so saturated with cynicism, looking over the shoulder, who's nipping at me, but to begin with generosity. That's what's like so powerful about those two lines, right? In the extreme poverty, yet they found themselves even more and more generous. And Paul doesn't go into amounts and percentages and all those things that people kind of are. No, just they were out of their extreme poverty, they were greatly generous. And I just think that's such a more hopeful way to begin an argument, to just, you know, and how you're going to just go throughout your day. What if we began with generosity?
Yeah. I love
go ahead.
In verse 8, it says, I'm not giving an order. So again, we're not asking for anybody's bank statements, right? I'm not giving an order, but by mentioning the commitment of others, I'm trying to prove the authenticity of your love also. I think for me, that just again talks about like, hey, you can know other people are giving too, so that when you are generous, that you're being generous with a community, which you know, is always the part that I like to highlight when we talk about our giving, is that when we give, we're giving alongside each other, knowing that what we can do with maybe our little bit, like maybe just a tiny bit that we're able to do, it's becoming part of something so much bigger. And so our faithfulness, our small points of faithfulness become such a ripple effect, if you will, in the way
there you go again.
that it's able to transform the world.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny, if you go back to 7, it says, be the best in this work of grace in the same way that you're the best in everything, such as faith
Yeah.
and speech and knowledge and total commitment and the love we inspired in you. Like, okay, St. Lukers, you already do amazing things with your life. Like, I mean, we have people that are leading companies. We have people that are teaching in the school system. We have people that are working in the hospitality industry and singing and going from gig to gig to gig to gig. So, but also there's this grace at work in your life. You're doing such amazing things. And so Paul is asking, and I guess we would be too, like continue that grace in this area of giving and stewardship, whether it's time or your talents. But in this particular one, it is offering. It is, I'm sitting here with 2 Starbucks on my table. Like I could give in accordance to how many Starbucks you have during the week, if that's what it is. And I think it's hard for us as pastors to actually say those words.
Yeah.
I don't know. I struggle with asking people to give money sometimes.
Well, because for a lot of people outside of the church, the narrative is all they want is your money.
Right.
Right. And like when we have big stewardship Sundays and I meet first time guests, I'm like, oh, could you leave and come back next week? Because we're going to talk about stewardship and money, and we don't all the time. And there's that, but that's not a bad thing, but it's the counter narrative, right? And so I just that for me, I know that's part of it, that everyone thinks that all we do is talk about is getting people, the old lady's money, and it's like, no.
And there are churches that would say, you know what, even if it's the grocery budget, you put the grocery budget in the offering plate and it'll come back. That's not how it works. Right. It is not magic that way. We don't believe in the prosperity gospel in that sense. And so that, I think, is one of the hesitancies, is wanting to make sure that when we talk about abundance, we really want it to be from abundance. If, we don't want, feeding your family money to end up in the offering plate to where you can't feed your family. But we are also in a community where a lot of us do have a little bit extra, and to be able to give some of that, and to be part of something bigger than ourselves. That's what gets me at my core. I remember I was a youth. I grew up Methodist, was part of all of like the conference youth stuff, conference youth council, CCYM, they called it back then. And every time we had a youth event, we would raise money for what they called Youth Service Fund. I don't even know if that exists anymore. But YSF was a buzzword. And I remember all of us getting so excited, even as teenagers, about giving, because Youth Service Fund was this mission fund that youth only gave to, and only went back to youth ministry and in some other place. I think Zoe was part of that back then, even, that we would give in my home conference. And so there's always been something that just gets my heart about being part of something bigger than myself, because I know how little I can do by myself. But when I know that other people are doing it too, it just, it makes it easy.
Well, and I think sometimes we work so hard to have a message of grace.
Yeah.
That it feels like when you ask about money, it feels shame and guilty.
Yeah.
But that's my stuff. And it's interesting because these 23 days of thanks and giving, is something we came up with, kind of just like we did 23andMe, we did 23andWe. That's how we started the year. It was using this 2023 and playing with those things and asking people also to give their estimates of giving. And we've done such amazing things. And so when I was thinking about a Thanksgiving offering, I was like, let's look at the calendar. When does Thanksgiving fall? And when it fell on November 23rd, I took it as a sign from God. I just did. And so 23 days to me is better than November. Like the whole gratitude of all of November, you're asking me to say something thankful. I have a hard time sometimes with that and feel the pressure, but there was 20, I'm like, I can do anything for 23 days, right? Although I haven't done it publicly necessarily like I wanted to, but I've been trying to give $2.30 for everything I named that I was thankful for every day. And I was like, this is silly. I'm like, literally, you can, if St. Luke's goes on the collection of Push Pay, it's Jen, $2.30. Because they did them all as separate transactions too. Like
Right.
I would say, I'm thankful for this person, and I do $2.30. But $2.30 a day is $52.90 a month for 23 days. And
Mhm.
we have 3,000 St. Lukers. If they did that, that would give us well over $100,000, which would ensure that we not only finish 2023 well, but go into 2024 with more.
Yep.
And I just can't help but think that $2, if it starts at $2.30, it's something I can do.
Yep.
Right.
But if it leads to $100,000, that's something I was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, and that's that gathering together.
Right.
That's that all and sorry, side note, $2.30, that's like a fraction of one of those Starbucks.
Right.
Exactly.
You know? It's
You don't
like
even
that
have to
much
get
of the
you don't
cup.
even
of
get
my
a whole
Starbucks.
Starbucks for that anymore.
Right. Come on now.
Except I use
When
my
you-
points. But anyway, so it's interesting because it says, he says in this, finish, where does it start? Now
11.
finish the job as well so that you finish it with as much enthusiasm as you started, given what you can afford. So isn't that a great scripture for the end of the year? Like finish what you started with the same enthusiasm. How many of us started 23 with like super, super excited to just be kind of farther away from what we went through, and 23 was going to be a different year. We started with a new vision. What are some of the things that we've done that we're thankful for this year in 23 as a ministry?
Well, I'm thankful for the men's ministry that started. I'm thankful for the men who came to me and said, hey, we know there's the morning group, but could we do something on a broader scale? And the lay leadership that met all summer to prepare to get something sustainable start. I'm thankful for them. And we're providing a place for men to gather and find community and step out of the loneliness that is post-pandemic America and find community. That's why I'm thankful for that group of leaders.
Yeah. I am thankful and have been so encouraged by our St. Lukers who have participated in these first couple of Lead Your Life in Wesleyan Way classes. Because when you create something, when you create a curriculum and when you put pieces together that, in the safety of my office and my computer go, this is really good. And then you put it out for people to then engage with, you go, oh, we're going to find out if that was just me kidding myself. But the response of people going, I feel so much more confident because I understand our theology. I knew I liked it. I knew I liked the product of it. I knew I liked what you guys preach. But now that I understand what grounds it, now that I understand that I am called, a lot of people have said like this is now, it's now harder in some ways, in the good way, because now I can't ignore something like this. I can't ignore, this piece of scripture. I can't ignore this call to action. I can't ignore what our vision is driving us towards, because I understand these concepts of calling and I understand who we are as Wesleyans and Methodists. And that is just the greatest gift I could have been given this year, to have put so much time and energy into creating and leading those classes, along with some amazing folks who have come alongside me to do that. And so that's encouraging. It makes me encouraged about something like this of our Thanksgiving offering and our Thanksgiving gratitude time, and beginning a new Christian year and beginning a new vision. I'm hearing and seeing people who are getting it and are getting it in deeper ways.
Yeah, I'm excited about I'm so grateful for the work of our vision team, for all of the excitement that was at the beginning when we filled out surveys and we had pool noodles and abacuses everywhere and DNA scans and just the vision that they've put together, the way it's simplistic. It's not simple, or it's simple, but it's not simplistic, I should say. It really calls forth the best in all of us and a commitment from all of us. I'm so thankful. I mean, Little Mermaid was tremendous.
Goodness.
I mean,
I'm
so
yeah.
grateful. We moved
Yeah.
the story to Little Mermaid. I think the story we told was beautiful. And the engagement from the theater community, the engagement from young people I've seen committed to St. Luke's, who are coming back and leading worship, and they're liturgists and they're singing. I'm grateful that we have, this incredible music ministry. Like Bradley has come on. We have this orchestra every week. That's incredible. John Mason's doing such great things with our children. Steve McKinnon has 45 different praise team singers. I mean, when I got here, there were 5 and they sang every week. We have over 45 in rotation, which is, it's remarkable. And I am just so excited about the community that I'm seeing being built. Even with new people that are just thrilled. They're so excited to be here, which is inspiring longtime St. Lukers.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm excited that there's a group of people that thought that they were they've been meeting for a long time, studying different theology, and they thought they were far out there, and we're preaching the same thing that they're teaching in their class. And I keep going, we've caught up, or however you want to think about it. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so, I think there's a lot that God has done in this year, and I'm excited for what God is doing next. And those are all reasons for me to give and to just say, thank you, Lord, for letting me be a part of it. Whatever small part I play.
I think of how many families, children, and youth, the treehouse is a vibrant place for kids to not only be discipled, but to disciple, and the amount of teenagers and youth. I mean, we confirmed a confirmand who basically came to church like the week before confirmation and jumped into confirmation. Like, I want to be a part of learning about this, right? And so people's lives are really being changed at all kinds of ages. And so it's and you mentioned like that group of 40 some odd singers, some of them are youth, right? So there's that integration, like we talked about a few weeks ago in the vision, that it is also intergenerational. There is a place for everyone to be a part of the kingdom work. And I'm just thankful. I'm so thankful for that. There's a place for everyone.
And we haven't even touched on missions, because
missions or care ministry.
We don't have time.
Like, how do you even begin to articulate the impact? I mean, Miriam could, she should really be here, right? Of what our missions team does. I just got to teach the community allyship. I say teach. I got to help facilitate some things for Miriam for this community allyship class, and to hear the stories again and again of what happens in a single church's missions department that is unlike anything I have ever seen in my life at a church, and the impacts that are made and the stories that we have of people's lives being transformed and systems shifting because of who we have been as a church, and institutions reaching out to us, institutions who would never partner with churches, saying, no, we know St. Luke's is the place for partnership, because they do it right, and they do it well, and they do it in ways that move the needle.
So I was at a community meeting about the growing threat of hate acts and speech in Central Florida. And I thought it was going to be a group of clergy leaders, and it wasn't. It was Visit Orlando. It was Sheriff John Mina. It was Teresa Jacobs from the OCPS school board. It was Edith Bush Foundation. It was just like the players of Central Florida were in the room. And I was like, why am I here? But I took my place next to Dick Batchelor and was proud. But it was interesting because the after conversation with people who, oh, I work with Miriam. Oh, I know Lynette. Oh, I work United Artists was there. The new head of United Artists was there. Oh, I know Gopar. I know I know Go Full Steam. Like, it was hysterical, because whether they were from Sanford or from, the most south parts of Orange County, people kept coming to me mentioning St. Luke's.
I
And
call
like,
it's 6 degrees of St. Luke's. If you're
it
in
is,
Central
it
Florida,
is.
it is always 6 degrees of St. Luke's.
And what was beautiful, which I loved, was they were like, now what do you do? And I'm like, I'm the lead pastor. I'm like, which is great. You don't need to
Yes.
know me.
That's the way
My
it should
job
be.
is to facilitate all these
Know the
people doing
work.
great things.
That's right.
And so it was I drove home in 5 o'clock traffic from Winter Park, which would make anyone cynical and sad. So, like, on cloud 9, going, man, the ripple effects of our work, of God revealing God's kingdom, is awakening people. It's awakening people to something different in church. And I was so proud for that. So
much to be thankful.
And we get to do that because people who have gone before for 40 plus years have been generous.
Exactly.
And I always say this in other spaces, but it's so easy for us to go, wow, that's so cool. Isn't it great that we're part of this? But we've got to recognize that those folks who have come along, we're those people now, as I always say. Like, we are those people now. So if we want to celebrate the ways that things have been, to look forward to what can be and what will be, we have to be the ones to support that with our time, with our stewardship, and with our generosity, and gratitude as well.
Because our thanks for now is an echo of the thanks before. Like, when you mentioned, like, we just briefly said, we didn't even talk about like missions or care. Like, I'm so thankful for David Stevens and the 28 plus years that he has given, the miles he's driven, the hospital rooms he's been in, to care for people and create a culture of compassion and care that's also a heavy part of our church. And so as I'm thankful for all of the Grief Share leaders and all the people around Central Florida who come in the midst of their grief to find community, healing, and hope, I'm thankful for that this year. And I got to remember, there's other people who back to the Pebble, and the people who were, I'm thankful now. I realize that I'm grateful and for the generosity of the people who have made it possible for now.
Yeah.
Well, and all of this just makes me say, you know what? I'm not afraid to ask for money. Because it's not asking for money for me. It's asking money to be a part of giving an offering. 23 cents, $2.30, 2,300, 23,000, whatever it is. It's just being able to go, yeah, I'm going to give to this ministry God has planted, and I want to watch it grow. And so I think there's this beautiful opportunity in our Thanksgiving offering, 23 days of thanks and giving. We hope you're a part of it. As we move into Advent, you're going to have an opportunity to give not only to, our operating budget to finish 23 strong, but to children and the work that we do for children in our church and in our city and in our community. But then also Giving Tuesday is tomorrow. If you're listening to this on Monday, we've got Giving Tuesday and the opportunity to give to an incredible new ministry, Sleep in Heavenly Peace, where we're building beds so that every child in Central Florida has a bed to sleep in. December 2nd, we're going to be having a huge build day. Just come to the parking lot. You can bring kids, any age can be a part of it, because there's something for every level to do. They teach you how to do it. And we're going to try and build 30 or 40 beds, I think, is our goal this time. And your gift on Giving Tuesday will help to buy linens, bed linens, and pillows to make sure that children not only have a bed to sleep in, but a comfortable way to sleep in it, because all children deserve to be able to sleep and rest in God's peace. And so we want you to be a part of it. And we're going to start our Advent podcast next week as we talk about presents. The presence of Christmas with a C. And so we want you to consider maybe reading the book of Isaiah, and the texts that we have coming, but also if you want to kind of brush up on your Christmas Carol, Scrooge, Spirited movies, books, however you do that, we're going to be tying all that in. And so we hope you'll join us. Have a wonderful week.